plants. The green frontier. These are the discussions of the podcast Horticult. Its continuing mission: to talk about strange new cultivars, to seek out new flowers and plant them, to boldly garden like no one has before. Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is Blaine from the Horticult. We just wanted to give you a little brief intro to this episode, but before that, we have some big news. We're now available on Spotify, so you can find us on Spotify. All you do, it's a free app. You download, you can listen to all your favorite music, and you can listen to us on it. Just search for the Horticult on Spotify, and we'll pop right up. All of our episodes are there. Crystal clear, beautiful. If that's easier for you to listen to it there, you could do that. I want to say thanks to our sponsor, Lawn Thumbs. You can go check out Freddie's videos at youtube.com/LawnThumbs. And it's free advice. If you want to improve your lawn, he'll show you how to do it. If you wanted to start your own lawn care company, he'll show you how to do all those things to boost up that revenue and how he does it. Go check them out. And this episode is on summer heat, where we have this hot section of the year. We still want to plant things in our garden. We got to up the ante a little bit on some of the things that we do. So here we go. Let's get it on. I'm Blaine.
And I'm Brad.
And we are the Horticult, suckers. Welcome. Thank you for listening in. We got a fun-filled, snot-filled, because I am sick, episode today.
Snot-nosed brat.
I'll try not to keep sniffing in the mic, on the mic. So, today, I actually wanted to bring up, it is getting freaking hot out there. We're all dealing with it. So I wanted to talk about summer watering habits and seasonal trends that are going on, or even in the nursery, like what we can expect to see. They're not as busy because now we've had that big spring push that everyone's trying to buy plants. Then there's kind of a slowdown in the nurseries, at least the ones that I've driven by and noticed. Yeah,
there's a little bit of a slump since I think the last big push was like Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah,
and you're right. There's still a few people out and about, but buying plants and baskets and containers and things like that. But it's going to be really hard to get anything established
right
at this point.
That was what I was going to say. It's a lot harder to transplant new plants into your yard when it's so freaking hot, because you got to be watering that thing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's coming from a place where it's gotten everything it's ever wanted in nutrients, in fertilizer, in heat, it's not too hot, it's not too cold, optimal growing temperatures. And then you bring them out of that environment, they're in the store for a few days, and then they're in your ground, and then it's just like they just can't handle that that shift in temperature and nutrient. Because you're just in the greenhouse, you're just watering it and giving it exactly what it needs all the time.
Yeah, fertilizer more or less every day. Yeah.
To just push them and get them all nice and fluffy.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I noticed that, with that, you gave me a beautiful basket.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you. And I turned around and gave that right to my mom.
That must have been after the plant memory episode.
I think it was. But, man, I didn't water that one day, and it was, wilting.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, you're not a happy camper. So I probably should have put it in the ground, because keeping it from going from a pot and a hanging pot to just being outside in the environment and
really hard for plants to survive in that kind of an atmosphere. You got to be watering that thing every dang day. It's not like a house plant where you could kind of water it once a week.
Yeah. And you can attribute that mostly to not only like full sun exposure, for the most part, but also, and I think more importantly, wind. That complicates the evapotranspiration. So the plant is using water, pulling it from the ground and transpiring it.
Yeah,
through its leaves, and it's just drawing up as much moisture as it can, and in some instances cannot pull it fast enough, therefore wilt.
Right.
Wilt closes the leaf stomata, the little openings, and that's how it preserves itself from dying.
So even if it's wilting, though, it's not beyond bringing it back. Like, that's when it fascinates me how quickly they will bounce back after they receive water, because they are just struggling. But I love that part of it. I love seeing them so wilty, and then you water it, and then an hour later they're like back and they look totally fine.
It's kind of, it's like a miracle, right?
Yeah, totally.
You're like,
bring it back from the dead.
Can you imagine if people were like that? Like, we're out there and it's a hot sunny day and pretty much like wilting up, on the sidewalk. And she's like, "Oh, here's a little bit of water.
Here you go, buddy."
Plump back up. Hey, let's go play volleyball.
It's really because the structure of the cells, though, right? Because it's like a balloon, and then they just start losing water, and they lose that structure,
that turgidity.
Damn,
yeah, like the
yeah. No, that's just a good word, man. Turgidity.
Yeah.
And it's just, they just slump, and it just, you got to pay attention to your plants, because I'm not used to potted plants. That's where I kind of struggle with. But even if they're in the ground, the benefit for being in the ground is that their root zone is protected a lot more from fluctuation, from the highs and the lows of the temperature. But when it's in a pot, it's out there in the element, more or less. So it's harder for the plants to deal with it.
Yeah, in a container, then the roots are in a finite space. And so you're right. I mean, it's like in a giant swimming pool. It cannot get out of this. But in the ground, planted in the ground, it has infinite rooting space.
And then it's like, in a pot, you're also limited to how much that pot can hold in water. So you could saturate that pot, but it can't ever exceed that certain amount of saturation. So if it is a larger plant in a small pot, that's a problem, and it can overheat a lot quicker. What was I going to say too? Being root bound is an issue. Then there's no nutrients in the potting soil unless you put it there, because that's why they use that for potting soil, is because it doesn't interfere with the plant. It's an inert material, so like peat moss and whatever. But a lot of times you can get them that have nutrients in it, but when they're getting them from a nursery, like, you guys don't put in nutrients in the soil, it is in the water.
Yep. And okay, so the soil does get a little bit of a charge to balance the pH. And with that ratio, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I know that there's some buffering agents or minerals to help balance the pH. And occasionally per specialty crop, we add Osmocote, which is a pelletite, like it's like fertilizer in a little pellet that breaks down over time. And so it's just another way to help charge the soil. So after it has been watered with liquid feed and leaves the nursery, if it's a specialty plant, like I said, it may have some additional fertilizers in it just to get it through to the consumer. And then from there, really, it is up to you to take over on fertilizing. I
didn't know any of that stuff, so I'd always assumed that it was ready to rock. You know, or it was out. It wasn't receiving anything.
Yeah.
At that point.
No, once in a while when you buy a plant and it does seem slightly anemic, a little bit yellow, then you know that it has ran out of fertilizer in the last week or so. But watering for the summer, that's a great topic.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of hitting on a lot of the things that I had written down, but just keeping the root zone cool, well watered. Transplanting is very difficult, even for trees. It's very hard. When you really want to plant is when they're in dormancy, larger things. But you see people doing it. You see builders doing it. So it can be overcome. It's just you have to pay a lot more attention to it. And after a year of being established, then it's okay. It's gone through a cycle and it's able to just go and do things on itself. But like planting a tree or whatever, we talked about before, the root flare and paying attention to the depth. It's very important for all the plants that you plant, but especially for trees. It might take 3 or 4 years for it to start seeing signs of suffering. But also another sign of it is suckering. Suckering occurs too when, some grafted trees are not doing so well. So here is the mother root plant or whatever, the root stock. It's not a desirable plant, but it wants to live. So it sends up these suckers. And if it's planted too deep and the tree's not doing very well, it's going to sucker. Not always. Some trees just sucker. But I'm taking care of this one tree, and I've noticed it's kind of not doing so well. And it is a Canadian red chokecherry, and they're beautiful trees, but they sucker. They tend to sucker. But out of 8 of these trees that he has planted in his yard, they're all planted at the same time. They're all the same age. Only this stinking one is suckering. And it's the one, if you look at it back and you can compare them right along each other, and that stinker doesn't have as many leaves. It's kind of dying back a little bit, and it is suckering. So I'm thinking just something is wrong with it.
Yeah. Is the chokecherry grafted,
Yeah,
okay.
They're grafted. I think they come from it's actually grafted from it's more of a multi-stemmed
Shrubby variety.
Which I've seen them, multi-stemmed as trees, and they're beautiful. And then I've seen them single-stemmed, and then I don't know if I've seen them just as a shrub, but there's no reason why it wouldn't look good. So I'm almost half tempted to let this guy know that he should just whack that tree off and let it sucker and then pick and let it just be a shrub, because I kind of think it would just do better as a shrub because it's just fighting him. I mean, you could try to do the what is it? The sucker stopper or whatever it's called. It's supposed to stop this. It doesn't. You could cut it all the time. It's a weekly cutting of this suckering every stinking time. And I just don't think it's worth it. And then you're going to have all this cutted material at the bottom.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't look good.
The crown and the base becomes kind of swollen, and galls start to form, or not galls, burls start to form. And actually, if you think about it, it's not right to allow this tree struggling to send all of its energy into these suckers when it's not working. Something's not working. The plumbing in the cambium is not working.
Right, so. And it could be anything, right? It could be the girdling roots. It could be I've pretty much gone through and made sure that the root flares are exposed, so it's not planted too deep. It's getting adequate water. But something is going on with that tree, and I haven't quite figured it out yet.
Dude, check your root flare, I say.
That's our new motto. Check your root flare.
Yeah.
Better step back and check your root flare. The most important part of the root are those little fibrous hairs. The
feeder roots.
Yeah,
I always like to think of them as and it's the tips of the roots. And so, yeah, you have your scaffolding of your root system, and the